Someone is holding it back. Not a force, not an idea, not a metaphor. Someone.
Who is this person? And why has he been holding back the third part of evil from entering the world?
The ancient texts are more specific about this than the modern church wants to admit. And the texts that were buried, not by Rome but by canon committees who found them too unsettling, describe this being in detail the 66 books only hint at. Enoch saw him, Moses named him, the sons of Zadok wrote battle plans around him, and Paul, trained in every text that mattered, did not have to explain the restrainer to the Thessalonians. They already knew. They had read what we stopped reading. The book of Jubilees revealed what the church buried. After the flood, Noah prayed. God agreed. 9 parts of the evil spirits were sealed beneath the earth in the place of condemnation. 1 part remained free under Mastema, permitted to test, to corrupt, to lead astray until the final Jubilee. But Jubilees is not the only text that describes this arrangement, and it is not the only text that names the being who enforces it. The Book of Enoch records the same event from a different angle. In the Book of the Watchers, God commands the Archangels to bind the fallen Watchers and their offspring. Raphael binds Azazel hand and foot and casts him into darkness in the desert, a pit that Enoch calls the abyss. Gabriel is sent to destroy the children of the Watchers, and Michael is given a different assignment entirely. Bind Semyaza and his associates, bind them in the valleys of the earth, bind them for 70 generations until the day of judgment. 70 generations, bound beneath the earth. By Michael, not Raphael, not Gabriel. Michael and Paul, who read Enoch, who quoted it in his letters, knew exactly what he was saying when he told the Thessalonians that someone was restraining the flood. He was not giving them new information. He was reminding them of who has been standing at the boundary since the flood itself. First, Enoch is not a footnote. It is the source text for the spiritual architecture of the entire New Testament. Jude quotes it directly. Peter structures his epistle around it. And Paul's language in 2 Thessalonians is soaked in its framework. In the Book of the Watchers, chapters 15 and 16, God delivers the sentence. The spirits of the giants, the Nephilim, will not ascend. They will remain on the earth as evil spirits. They will afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, and do battle. Then the Watchers themselves are bound. Azazel in the desert, Semyaza and his followers in the valleys of the earth. 70 generations. And who is the binding agent? Michael. Enoch, chapter 20, lists the 7 archangels by name and function. Uriel rules over the world and Tartarus. Raphael rules over the spirits of men. Gabriel rules over the serpents and paradise. And Michael is set over the best part of mankind, over the people of Israel. The archangel assigned to protect God's people. The being who bound the Watchers, the one who will unbind them when the 70 generations are complete. Stop. Read that again slowly. The same being who bound them is the only being authorized to release them. This is not speculation. This is the text Enoch wrote before the flood was a memory. When the Dead Sea caves gave up their secrets, one text shocked the scholars most of all: the Damascus document. It was the rulebook of a community that had fled Jerusalem and established itself in the desert. And it contained a theology of spiritual warfare far more developed than anything in the rabbinic tradition that survived. The Damascus document divides history into 2 dominions: the dominion of Belial and the dominion of God. Belial, the chief of the spirits of the lot of darkness, rules the present age, not as an equal opponent, but as a permitted adversary. The document describes 3 nets with which Belial catches Israel: fornication, wealth, and the defilement of the sanctuary. But Belial's authority is not unlimited. It is bounded, permitted, restrained, and the document names who restrains him: the Prince of Light, Michael. In the community rule from Cave 1, the same framework appears: the spirits of truth and the spirits of injustice. The Prince of Lights governing the sons of righteousness, the Angel of Darkness governing the sons of perversity. The sons of the Dead Sea community called Michael the Prince of Light. They wrote battle plans, the war scroll, that place him at the head of the army of heaven in the final war against the sons of darkness. And they believed that war was approaching in their generation. They were not wrong about the war, they were wrong about the timing, because the restrainer had not yet been removed. The war scroll is the most detailed battle plan ever recovered from the ancient world that was never fought. Column 1 opens with the sons of light engaging the sons of darkness in a war that will span 40 years. Column 17 describes the moment of the final breach, when the angelic hosts intervene, and the text names the commander, Michael. At that time, the congregation of the gods and the congregation of men shall engage each other. And on the day the Kittim fall, there will be battle and grievous destruction before the God of Israel. For this is the day appointed by him from ancient times for the battle of annihilation for the sons of darkness. At the head of the army of heaven is the Prince of Light, Michael, the same being who bound the Watchers, the same being who disputed with Satan over the body of Moses, the same being who will cast the dragon out of heaven in Revelation chapter 12. The war scroll does not describe Michael as a distant commander. He fights at the breach, where the line is thinnest, where the darkness presses hardest, where the restraint is under maximum pressure. And column 13 of the scroll records the prayer the high priest will recite over the sons of light on the day of battle. It names Belial and all the spirits of his lot as the enemies, and it declares that God, through the hand of the Prince of Light, will destroy them. Through the hand of Michael, the war scroll was hidden in a cave near the Dead Sea. It was not meant for the Romans who burned Jerusalem. It was meant for the generation that would see the restraint begin to crack. If this is the first time you have heard the war scroll or the Damascus document connected to what Paul was actually telling the Thessalonians, you are not alone. Most of the church has never been told these texts exist. Stop, let that sit with you, then subscribe. Because what comes next about the 70 generations and where we are on that timeline is what the modern church is not ready to face. Enoch chapter 10 gives the sentence, Michael is commanded to bind Semyaza and his associates in the valleys of the earth for 70 generations until the day of their judgment. 70 generations, not forever, not until an unspecified time. 70 generations, a fixed term, a measured sentence. And when the 70 generations are complete, the binding is complete. Michael's assignment moves to its next phase. The Watchers are released, the abyss opens. The Book of Jubilees chapter 5 records the same event, but adds a detail Enoch omits. Noah's prayer secures the binding. 9 parts are sealed. One part, Mastemas, remains free, but Jubilees chapter 10 reveals something more. Mastema was not merely permitted, he petitioned, "Leave some of them before me, let them do my will. For if none of them remain, I will not be able to exercise the authority of my will among the children of men." And God granted him one part, which means the arrangement after the flood was not a clean punishment. It was a negotiated permission. Mastema asked for operational forces. God granted him a 10th. The other 9 parts were bound, 70 generations, under Michael's restraint. The arrangement is specific. The terms are measurable, and the generations are countable. The question no one in the modern church is asking, when do the 70 generations end? Stop. Let this sink in from a text almost no one reads. The Testament of Levi, part of the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, fragments of which were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, records a vision given to Levi, the son of Jacob. In it, Levi ascends through the heavens. He sees the waters suspended in the highest heaven. He sees the powers arrayed. And then the angel tells him something direct. In the third heaven are the armies arrayed for the day of judgment to work vengeance on the spirits of deceit and Belial. The armies are arrayed, present tense, not being assembled, not future. Arrayed. In the Testament of Dan, the same warning. Satan will be your prince, and you will be led astray, until the day when the Lord will bring war upon him. In the Testament of Benjamin, he will take the kingdom from Belial, and he will give it to us. These are not fringe texts. They were in the libraries of the same communities that preserved Enoch and Jubilees. They share the same framework, the same spiritual architecture, the same central figure holding back Belial's dominion, the Prince of Light, The Restrainer, Michael, now a text almost no one in the English-speaking church has ever heard of. The Apocalypse of Abraham is an ancient Jewish apocalypse preserved in Slavonic. It describes Abraham's ascent into heaven and what he was shown there. And it contains a detail about the adversary that links everything together. In chapter 13, Abraham sees the adversary called Azazel descending, and the text describes Azazel's domain. He rules the earth. His authority is over those who do evil, but his authority has a limit. In chapter 29, Abraham is told, "A man from your seed, the righteous one, will come." And afterward, the judgment of the wicked will come. But before that, something else. The restraint, the permitted period, the adversary operating within boundaries that have not yet been removed. The Apocalypse of Abraham does not name the restrainer explicitly, but it describes the architecture perfectly. Azazel rules, bound by permission, not by absence. His authority is real but limited, and when the limit expires, the judgment follows. Look at the world today. Not at the surface, at what is pressing against the boundary. Every ancient text agrees. The watchers are bound for a set term. The spirits of the giants roam the earth under permitted authority. Belial rules, restrained but active, and the Prince of Light stands at the breach, holding back what Enoch saw and what the sons of Zadok prepared to fight. The pressure against that boundary is increasing. Paul wrote 2 Thessalonians in a world where every synagogue library held books the modern church has forgotten: Enoch, Jubilees, the testaments of the patriarchs, the traditions about the watchers and the giants, and the 70 generations. When he told the Thessalonians that the mystery of lawlessness was already at work, he was not introducing a new concept. He was identifying something they knew existed, something Enoch described, something Jubilees measured, something the war scroll planned to fight. And when he said someone was restraining it, he did not need to say Michael's name. They already knew. Every Jewish believer in Thessalonica knew who bound the watchers, who sealed the abyss, who stands at the breach, who will lead the army of heaven when the restraint ends. The text of 2 Thessalonians is not a mystery, it is a confirmation. The 70 generations assigned in Enoch chapter 10 are not a metaphor. They are a countdown, and when that countdown reaches its end, the assignment Michael received in the days after the flood enters its next phase. He who bound the watchers will unbind them. He who sealed the abyss will open it. He who holds back the 9 parts will step aside. And what has been permitted since Noah's prayer will be joined by what has been restrained. The convergence, both parts of the evil spirits, the permitted and the bound, active on the earth simultaneously. For the first time since the flood, the sons of the Dead Sea community believed they were the terminal generation. They hid the scrolls for those who would come after. They wrote the war scroll for a battle they would not fight. Those scrolls are now in our hands. Enoch, Jubilees, the Damascus document, the war scroll, the testament of Levi, the Apocalypse of Abraham, all translated, all available, all pointing to the same architecture, all describing the same restrainer, all warning about the same convergence. And most of the church is asleep. The restrainer is still standing, the boundary is still holding, the 70 generations are not yet complete. But every text, every single one, says the pressure will build until it cannot be contained. Comment Michael if you believe the Prince of Light is the restrainer. Comment sealed if you believe the identity has been hidden by God and should remain that way. And subscribe because the next video goes into the abyss itself. What is sealed there according to Enoch? What happens when it opens according to the war scroll? And what the testament of Levi saw when the armies of the third heaven finally moved? The restrainer is still standing, but the pressure is building. Stay awake.